Welcome back to TV5 News. At 9, we are back with another edition of our favorite segment, Ask the Sheriff. Joining us today, the man himself, Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. Sheriff, it is so good to see you. How are you?
Great. I haven't been on for a couple months. I thought maybe you read a comment card or I got cut.
No. Oh, you? Of course not. Happy New Year, first of all.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to you and everybody else watching.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. We know that you are so busy, Sheriff, and you do so many things for the community. It's so hard to count how many things you do. So today, we wanted to talk to you about something that you've been working on for more than a year now, your podcast. And viewers, it's called the Black and Blue Podcast. Sheriff, tell us about this and how did you get started with this?
So obviously May 30th, 2020 was a big deal for our community, for the state of Michigan, and it was a message that was heard around the world. When we marched back to the Target parking lot that evening and the protesters were there, they wanted to be heard, and that moment was memorialized. So I made a promise because at the end of that night, I hung off a light pole in the parking lot. I said, I'm going to be a change agent. I'm going to do my part with my circle of influence to bring race relations together, to solve social justice issues. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm making that claim today. It changed my whole philosophy. It actually added that third discipline you'll see on our patrol cars: protect, serve, and unify. Well, I didn't even know who Ken Wadike Jr. was at the time. I had no interest or no desire to do a podcast until July that year. I was introduced to Ken, and you might look him up. He's the free hugs guy. He's out in San Diego.
Yeah, okay.
He goes into protests throughout the country, and he tries to do the same thing. He had a moment in 2016 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he started to talk racial equality and social justice himself. Well, we smashed together in July, and it was an instant connect. He was a guy that within 5 minutes I knew that we are like-minded, we are equally yoked, and so about a month later he said, we need to get our message out. We're calling it Black and Blue. Now, this is not Sheriff Swanson stuff, because there's a whole side of Chris that happens outside that I use my abilities and talents to bring messages to people, and that's one of those platforms. So we started the Black and Blue podcast, and we've done nearly 60 episodes, and we talk about really sensitive issues, but issues that people want to know about that they don't know where and how to ask. How do you ask a white police officer? How do you ask somebody from the Black community? How do you ask somebody who's not in law enforcement questions that you want to know answers? So long answer to short question. We have brought these issues. We have had some incredible guests on, and what we have found is it reaches the people. We get the feedback from all over the world, and we're so thankful. And my friend Ken Wadike is a good man, and he has a heart to solve issues that affect all of us, no matter if you're from San Diego, California, or Flint, Michigan, and we're happy about that. And we have more episodes coming, and you know, it's expanding in things in areas that we didn't expect. But again, as the sheriff, I get to do a lot of cool stuff, and that's one of them.
Well, anyone like Ken who gives away free hugs, we know that he's a special person. Tell me about, you cover a range of topics. Tell me what episodes are most important to you that you just look at and just take to heart.
So a lot of it talks about questions that people from one side of the argument, the conversation, they don't know how to ask the question, whether it becomes about culture, a response, something that's happened nationally. So we talk about these things, but we don't take a political side. We don't take a divisive side. We talk about the facts. And one that stands out is we had a guy who did 30 years in prison. His name is Danny, and he works down in Detroit, and he's got a great foundation. And when he came out of prison, he was very suspicious of people that look like me and also are in these positions of authority and influence. And so he was brought onto the show, and we had a 2-part episode, and Danny saw who I was, saw my heart, and the conversation we had, even though it was between 2 people, it related to thousands, because there's some people that I just don't know how to act. I don't know what to ask, and when somebody does it for me, it like blazes the trail. Well, I just got a call from Danny 2 weeks ago, and some of his guys that he did time with, both inside and now are outside, they saw that episode, and he just called and said, hey, I just want to say thanks, because it's broadened my perspective, and I have been able to see the truth of what's behind the badge. I mean, that's what we want. 2020, and I've said it before, even on your station, George Floyd changed American policing forever. Now I'm a proponent and a voice for police evolution. And I get to take that message, not only in podcasts, and this is a fun fact, I'm actually speaking in Washington, D.C. In 2 weeks based on this event that we saw here in Genesee County, in Michigan, specifically on police evolution. Like, where have we come from over the last year and a half, and what's happening? And this is through the National Sheriff Association, and I'm very honored and pleased to do that. So there's so many episodes that are my fun favorites, and it's not all serious. I rip on Ken all the time, and he makes fun of me, and it's just a great conversation.
Sheriff, I love it that it's raw and it's like you're keeping it real, and people can really get some great information, some great insight from you. What would you say that you've learned after a year of doing your podcast?
Well, I can't say it's just a podcast. What I've learned, that there is a massive opportunity among chaos. When we saw what happened in 2020 with all the things that were coming from not only the protests, but also COVID, and then the political scene, and all the things that got all of us really anxious, there is great progress and opportunity in chaos. And so we've been able to really reach into our communities. I mean, I've worked hand in hand with Sheriff Federspiel, all my partnering sheriffs, but also the community. That's what I've learned is there's a lot of different avenues to get the message out. Use them all. Use everything. There's not one better than the other. And the podcast is just one of those voices that I get to have on that section. But I take advantage of every opportunity, including WNEM.
I love it. Okay, so anything else that's coming up exciting for Black and Blue?
Well, not for Black and Blue, but I do want to promo this.
Yes.
Within the next 7 days, and I have tried for a long time to do this, and it happened, but I was asked by TED, from TED Talks, that is a brand of speakers that tell a message, to present a TED Talk in Detroit last fall. And I was able to do a TEDx talk downtown Detroit, and it was just released by TED about 4 weeks ago, and I'm releasing it to all my circles of influence, and it is an incredible talk, specific when it comes to social justice and that moment on May 30th. And I can promise you, because you know my heart, it's gonna really impact you. When I see it, and I was there, I did the talk, it moves me. So of course this all dovetails into what we're doing, but I'm gonna be releasing that TED Talk here next week, and you're gonna be happy about that, I promise you.
That's like a can't miss. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. It sounds so powerful, so we definitely have to look out for that one. Sheriff, before we go, you know that we like to end on a fun question. You know, you ready? Okay. Now, since Valentine's Day is coming up, we wanted to ask you about a story that you actually mentioned last Valentine's Day on your podcast about giving your wife a bag of Skittles early in your relationship. So are Skittles still your gift of choice for Valentine's Day?
That is so awesome. I asked my wife to marry me, by the way, on February 12th in 1994. So February 12th, 14th, Valentine's Day is a big deal. Skittles is funny because, don't forget, she shared them with my buddy Eddie Soto, and I'm like, what? But yeah, I love Skittles. And also, Ken Wadake's favorite candy is Skittles. And I got to admit, his is the original, mine is the tropical fruit.
Love it. Okay, I love the lime Skittles. Oh, thank you, Sheriff. You know, we are so appreciative of you, and we're so thankful that you're in our community, just breaking down the barriers and building up people together. Thank you so much for what you do and for spending time with us today. We appreciate you.
Always. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, Sheriff. Now it's your turn. If you have a question for the Sheriff, send it to WNEM at WNEM.com or send it to our social media.